You ever look at a math problem and see a fraction inside another fraction and just think, okay, what is even happening here? Well, if you have, you are definitely in the right place. Today, we're going to conquer these things they call complex fractions, and I promise you, they're way simpler than they look.
And there it is, our opponent for today. This is a classic complex fraction. You've got fractions up in the numerator, you've got them in the denominator. I mean, this thing is practically designed to look like a monster to make you just want to close the book and walk away.
And yeah, if you're thinking that looks intimidating, you're not wrong. That's the whole point. But what if I told you there's a simple little secret to taking down this monster every single time?
Okay, here's the secret weapon. You see that big fraction bar right in the middle? That's all it is. It just means divide. Seriously, a complex fraction isn't some crazy new type of math. It's just a regular old division problem wearing a scary costume. And you already know how to do those.
So how do we actually attack this thing? Well, there are two main strategies, two really clear paths you can take to simplify these every single time. Let's break them down.
All right. Our two methods are what I call the LCD multiply method and the rewrite as division method. The first one, the LCD method, it's kind of like magic. It just clears out all those little fractions at once, which is amazing when you have a bunch of terms being added or subtracted. The second path is more straightforward. You just simplify the top, simplify the bottom, and then divide. Let's look at our first weapon, the LCD multiply method. The whole strategy here is simple, but it is so powerful. First, you find the least common denominator, the LCD, of all the little fractions in the problem. Then, you multiply every single term by that LCD. And just like that, poof, the fractions vanish, leaving you with something way easier to solve. Now, our second method is rewriting as division. This one's a little more step-by-step. First, you just focus on the numerator and combine everything into one single fraction. Then, you do the exact same thing for the denominator. Once you've got one clean fraction over another, it's a standard division problem. And you can bring out our old friend, keep, change, flip.
Okay, theory is one thing, but let's see how these actually work in a real problem. It's time for a little sparring session.
First up, we've got 1 over x plus 1 over y, all divided by 1 over xy. Now, this looks pretty messy, right? You've got addition up top. This makes a perfect candidate for that LCD multiply method, which is going to clean this right up. Let's do it.
All right, the first and most important step is to find the boss of this problem, the least common denominator of all the little fractions. So we look at the bottoms. We've got an x, a y, and an xy. Well, the smallest thing that contains all of those is just xy. That's our LCD.
And now for the magic trick. We are going to multiply every single piece, the 1 over x, the 1 over y, and the 1 over xy, by our LCD of xy. So when you multiply xy by 1 over x, the x's cancel out, leaving you with just y. When you multiply xy by 1 over y, the y's cancel, leaving x. And down in the denominator, the entire xy cancels out, leaving just a 1. So what do we end up with? Y plus x over 1. Look at that. All that complexity just gone.
Okay, let's switch it up. New problem. And this time, we're going to use our second method. Here we have x plus 1 over x divided by x squared minus 1 over x squared. Now, since the top and the bottom are already single fractions, using the division method is a supernatural fit here.
So because this is already just one fraction sitting on top of another, we can jump right to our favorite move, keep, change, flip. We keep the first fraction, x plus 1 over x, we change the division sign to multiplication, and we flip the second fraction, so it becomes x squared over x squared minus 1. And just like that, it's a simple multiplication problem. Now hold on, before we multiply, let's see if we can simplify things first. You see that x squared minus 1 in the denominator? That should look familiar. It's a difference of squares, so it factors into x plus 1 times x minus 1. Now look what we have. We've got an x plus 1 on the top and on the bottom, so they cancel out. We can also cancel one of the x's from the top with the x on the bottom. After all that canceling, what's left? Just our nice, clean answer, x over x minus 1.
Okay, time for our final challenge. This one looks a little simpler, but trust me, it has a hidden trap. We've got whole numbers mixed in with our fractions. This is where so many people make one tiny little mistake. Let's use the LCD method again, and I'll show you exactly how to handle it.
So the only denominator in the whole problem is x. That makes finding the LCD super easy. It's just x. Now, here is the key. you have to multiply times every single term by that x, and that includes those whole numbers. So the one on top gets multiplied by x, and the one on the bottom also gets multiplied by x. When you do that, the fractions clear up, and we're left with our final answer, x minus 1 over x plus 1.
So we've seen how to win, but it's just as important to know about the common mistakes, right? The monster has a couple of tricks up its sleeve, so let's expose them so you don't fall for them.
Here they are, the two biggest traps. First, people sometimes only multiply the fractions by the LCD, and they completely forget about the other terms. And second, just like we saw in that last example, people often miss the whole numbers, forgetting that they are terms too, and they absolutely need to be multiplied.
You know what? I'm going to say it one more time, because this is the golden rule of the LCD method. You have to multiply every single term. That includes the whole numbers. If you just remember that one thing, you will avoid the most common trap there is.
So, why are we spending all this time wrestling with these fractions? Is this just for algebra class? No way. This skill is a really critical building block for all the higher level math you're going to do. Now, this might look a little advanced, but it's a direct preview of where this skill is headed. In calculus, a super important concept called the difference quotient creates complex fractions just like the ones we've been solving all day. So being able to simplify them easily isn't just a trick for this class. It's a fundamental skill you need for the future. Mastering this right now is setting yourself up for success later on.
So think about it. We took something that looked incredibly complicated and we peeled it back to reveal it was just a simple division problem in a clever disguise. Kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other topics in math that seem so intimidating are actually built on simple ideas that we already know?